Let me just start off by saying that I was very excited about Valorant. A new FPS game made by Riot Games? Count me in. But once the game released, I was only met with disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. I was expecting so much more from the people who made League of Legends and the now successful card game, Legends of Runeterra. I'm sure you guys are all aware of the controversy surrounding Valorant, like the anti-cheat software they use, more on that later, and their user review score sitting at a 5.6 currently. While I do disagree with the average review scores, I do feel some of the criticism this game is receiving is warranted. Now if you're coming from CSGO, you might actually enjoy this game. Personally, I've never played CSGO. I've been more accustomed to Overwatch and Call of Duty. But I'm going to try my best to explain why this game isn't as perfect as people say it is.
미안해서 어쩌나?
Valorant is pretty much the love child of Overwatch and CSGO, focusing on gunplay rather than your abilities. This actually seems like a pretty neat idea on paper, but on execution, it really falls short. The round starts you off in teams of 5, giving you the option to buy guns, shields, or abilities. One of the teams are responsible to plant the spike, while the other defuses it. You can also win by killing the entire team. Keep in mind though, once you die in this game, you can't do anything for that entire round, and if you're not familiar with CSGO, trust me, you'll die a lot. This is where one of my main issues comes from. It's the speed. In Valorant, you have to carefully maneuver your way through the map, seeking out enemies, peeking corners, and walk slowly so enemies don't hear your footsteps. Not to mention, if you actually do try to run and gun, your bullets are incredibly inaccurate, so you pretty much have no other option but to either crouch or walk. If we actually take a moment to talk about new players, can you imagine how frustrating it is for them? The tutorial does a horrible job explaining anything. There's no advanced tutorials explaining how inconsistent it is to run and shoot, or explaining how some walls can be shot through. And you might argue, you can learn that by playing through matches. Yeah, sure, but as I mentioned before, people will get fed up and not give this game the time of day. This game is pretty complicated involving its gunplay, so you should take the time to explain everything properly. But don't worry, it gets worse. Let me ask you, when you use an ability, you want it to benefit you or your teammates, right? Well, in Valorant, they thought it was a great idea to make your damaging abilities or debuffs affect you and your teammates. So if your teammate throws an ability that does damage, guess what? You'll also get hurt by it. Seriously, why did they do this? Okay, maybe you could say there's also skill in that too, somehow. But some of the abilities are not created equally. Let me explain. Take a look at Phoenix. He has a blind that can blind people around corners. You have to position it so you and your teammates don't get blind. Okay, now let's take a look at Reyna. She has a blind that can go through walls and it doesn't blind herself or her teammates. So, which is it? Do you want abilities to affect me or not? So we got no run and gun gameplay, fine. Abilities that have no idea what rules to adhere to, fine, whatever. What about the guns? Oh man, they're all over the place in quality. Some better than others. Some being really inconsistent even if you stand still and shoot. Check out the operator. Look where my crosshair is and look where my bullet lands. You may argue this is for bounds, but if I have two enemies on me and I shoot them accurately, shouldn't I get those kills? The only time that it is accurate is if you're scoped in, but that takes time. Like I said, these choices don't seem to make any sense. And if you thought the visuals make up for it, you thought wrong. At first, I thought the visuals looked clean, but once you actually look at the world closely, you see how lifeless it really is. Look at this lake here. It lacks any color and just looks muddy. The agents don't deliver anything unique either. They just seem so generic and seem to clash with the world they're in. Switching gears a little bit, Overwatch had really memorable characters and the maps complemented their character design. Everything pops with color, detail, and the voice actors did a really convincing job to make each character have their own personality.
Reach, I'm the quick. You're the dead.
Valorant doesn't really have any of that. All I can really say is that they have some funny lines, but that's about it. They don't have any defining character traits to make them unique. Remember, we're talking about the people who made League of Legends and Legends of Runeterra. Look how polished and well crafted these games look. And look at this. I'm not sure what happened here, because Riot Games usually excel in this stuff. So many memorable characters in League of Legends that people still swear by today. Now while you may get some satisfaction with killing enemies and the art style is very lackluster, I do feel the sound for the most part is great. Granted, my eardrums explode every time I hear the sniper go off. But they all sound close to the gun that they resemble, if that makes any sense. So sound and what little music they have is alright. But what Valorant really boasts about is their anti-cheat software and great frame rates, which they managed to miss the mark on both. Valorant uses the anti-cheat software Vanguard. If you don't know what that is, there are plenty of videos of it online. But to put it briefly, it's essentially a rootkit that monitors what you're doing even outside of the game. This leads to a bunch of privacy issues, and maybe Riot Games won't use that information against you, but hackers will. So this is huge. I also can't play any other game online since Vanguard conflicts with it. To fix this, you have to uninstall Vanguard, and whenever you start up Valorant, you have to restart your computer for Vanguard to install again. Great! More reasons for people not to play this game. As for the frame rate, at launch it was horrible. I'd get random stutters and my FPS would drop dramatically. But with the last update, it's gotten better. I do have an RTX 2070, so that should be more than enough horsepower for a game that looks like this. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention about the store. You have the option to buy skins in this game. Some of them actually don't look bad, but the price that they offer at is absolutely ridiculous. $71 for a couple of skins? Are you serious? I know it's a free-to-play game, but this is kinda outrageous. At the most, you should offer a set of skins for at least $15. To sum everything up, Valorant isn't a perfect game, but it isn't so bad it deserves a 0 either. Like I said, if you care about slow-paced gunplay similar to Counter-Strike, you might actually enjoy this game. But if you're coming from Overwatch or Modern Warfare, it'll be really hard to get into this game. It's definitely possible, but it'll take a lot of effort. In a lot of ways, I feel this game was rushed. With only 4 maps and 11 agents, this isn't enough for a full release, even for a free-to-play game. Honestly, if they took their time to fix these issues, this could have been a game that I recommend to everybody. But as it stands, even with the updates, I really can't recommend this. There are plenty of free shooters that offer way more than what Valorant has to offer. But that's my take. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the game. I'm just going to stick to Overwatch and Call of Duty. But anyways guys, that does it for me. Thanks for watching, till next time.